Okay, you brought up your legislation that you put out this week. We'll start back with you on this question. Jason Kander was in your hometown of Springfield this week, basically criticizing this legislation, saying that this requirement that somebody be there to take the ballot in is going to limit military members from voting. You obviously just taken a position against what Kander is saying. Can you kind of elaborate on why you believe this will affect military members?
Yeah, if you read the entire legislation, it still says that you as a person in the military who votes overseas are able to vote by an envelope, and that the local election official is not able to turn that back. And so, matter of fact, we're working with the chairman. We're making sure that we have clarity in the language. But at the end of the day, the issue is about voter fraud. And so I'm not going to apologize for making sure that we protect every single voter from making sure they don't have their identity stolen. So we're working to make sure when you send an absentee ballot that you have every opportunity to be able to protect yourself. And so we're clarifying the language and making sure that if people want to be able to mail that in personally, they'll be able to do that. But at the end of the day, we're actually designating also a person that can represent you to take that ballot to the county clerk to make sure that you're protected. And so that's something I want to apologize for. And frankly, I'm very disappointed that Representative Kander and others would try to make politics out of an issue. I think we all honor our men and women who serve overseas exactly as we should, as well as those who are away from home here in the U.S. And nobody would want to take away their opportunity to be able to cast their ballot. And there is nothing in legislation that actually allows that to happen. It's a blatant false attack, and that's what you would expect when somebody who does not want to protect your identity when you vote.
Senator, on that same question, would you be willing to support Representative Schoeller's legislation in the Senate? Would you, consider co-sponsoring it, perhaps?
Not the way it's written, because when it first came out, there was, confusing, and you saw national veterans groups coming out saying this is bad legislation because it's going to keep the military overseas from being able to vote. There's been newspaper articles written about it, so the way it was written, no, it's something that we don't want to do, because obviously those people that are overseas fighting to protect our right to vote should have no obstacles, which to not be able to vote. So if they're protecting our right to go and vote, we shouldn't be saying, hey, you can't vote now because you got to come back and sign up in person. So the legislation, as he said, he must be working with the chairman. It does need to be changed and stuff, and so we'll be looking at that whenever it is finished.
Let's get Senator Stouffer on this and I'll let you respond. Would you be willing to support his legislation in the Senate, and would you co-sponsor it?
No, not in the position it's in, and we have division, and I generally don't see House legislation until it gets to the Senate. So, but I do think that there's, we have to protect the rights of our military that are fighting for us. And one of the things that's happened continually with Secretary of State's, this Secretary of State in particular, is that she's dogged getting those ballots back. And I think it's extremely important if you've got folks in action defending our rights to be sure that their vote is counted. We'll do everything we can